All right, today we are diving deep into the complete, unfiltered story of a true Hollywood icon. We're talking about her life, all 7 of her husbands, and the absolutely devastating secret she kept hidden for her entire career. Let's get into it. So right from the jump, we're hit with this massive question. You've got Evelyn Hugo, a star who was just as famous for her scandals as she is for her talent. She's finally ready to tell her life story. But here's the catch. She'll only speak to one specific person, and absolutely no one can figure out why. So the story kicks off when the super reclusive Evelyn Hugo summons a reporter named Monique Grant. Monique's career is kind of stalling, her personal life is a mess, and then she gets this offer that just sounds way, way too good to be true. And the terms of this deal, they're just wild. Evelyn promises to tell Monique everything, the whole unvarnished truth, but the book can only come out after Evelyn dies. And the reward for Monique? She gets every single penny from the profits. The big question is just hanging in the air. Why her? To get to the real story, Evelyn knows she has to start by tearing down the myth she spent a lifetime building, the story of her 7 husbands. See, the world saw this glamorous, romantic, maybe even scandalous woman, but the reality? Oh, it was something else entirely. I mean, look at this timeline. Her marriages span decades, and it reads like a who's who of old Hollywood. But you have to understand, this timeline isn't a map of her heart. Not at all. It's a map of her ambition. And this right here is the absolute key to understanding Evelyn Hugo. She makes it crystal clear from the start. These marriages were never really about love. They were chess moves. Every single husband served a purpose, whether it was for her ruthless climb to the top or her desperate need to protect her deepest secrets. Okay, so let's just rapid fire through the first 4. They were basically tools. Ernie Diaz, he was just her ride to LA when she was 14. That's it. Then came Hollywood royalty Don Adler, which started as a fiery romance but quickly turned ugly and abusive. Mick Riva, that was a messy one-night disaster in Vegas, all to get the tabloids chasing the wrong story. And Rex North, purely a business arrangement to sell movie tickets and, more importantly, to hide what was really going on behind the scenes.
But here's the thing. All of it, the husbands, the scandals, the drama, the headlines. It was all just a giant smokescreen. It was a cover for the one true great love of her life. A love she had to hide from the entire world.
And boom, this is the bombshell that changes absolutely everything. The epic love story that the world thought it knew, it was never with any of those 7 men. The real love of Evelyn's life was another woman, a fellow Hollywood star. Now, to the public, Evelyn Hugo and Celia St. James were the fiercest of rivals, always competing for the same roles and awards. But in private, they were soulmates. They were caught in this painful cycle of breaking up and getting back together, all because they were living in a time that would have absolutely destroyed them if their secret ever got out. So how on earth did they manage to survive all that pressure? Well, Evelyn used her marriages as shields, not just for herself, but for other people she loved too. And this brings us to what was probably the most important marriage of her life, which had nothing to do with romance. Evelyn's 5th husband was her producer and her best friend, Harry Cameron. Now, Harry was gay, so they made a deal. They got married to be each other's cover, creating this safe, platonic, and loving little family where they could both be themselves behind closed doors. It was her longest and, honestly, her most successful partnership, a bond built on friendship and mutual protection. Her last 2 husbands were just as strategic, one to a director to get back control of her career, and the last one to protect the legacy of the person she loved most. So, as Evelyn is wrapping up her life story, she reveals she has one last secret to confess. And this is the big one. This is the final piece of the puzzle that's going to answer the question we've had since the very beginning. And we are right back to this. After everything she's revealed, the love of her life, the truth about her husbands, the biggest question is still just hanging there. Why, Monique? Well, the answer goes back to a single tragic night decades ago. Okay, so here's what happened. Harry Cameron, her best friend, is drunk and gets into a horrible car crash. His passenger is killed on impact. And to save Harry's career, his legacy, his entire life, Evelyn makes a split-second, life-altering choice. She gets to the scene of the accident, she pulls Harry out, and she puts the dead passenger in the driver's seat, framing him for the whole thing. And that one terrible act of protection, that one awful lie, that's the thing that connects Evelyn Hugo and Monique Grant all these years later. This is the final, heartbreaking bombshell. The man that Evelyn framed to save her best friend was named James Grant, Monique's father. The lie that Evelyn told that night completely destroyed Monique's family history, letting her grow up believing her dad died in a drunk driving accident that he didn't even cause.
And suddenly, the real reason for this whole tell-all becomes clear. It's not just a book, it's a confession, it's an apology. The millions of dollars that Monique is going to make from this, in Evelyn's mind, it's blood money. It's her final, desperate act of atonement.
After finally confessing her darkest secret and making sure Monique knows the entire truth, Evelyn, who is already dying from cancer, decides to end her own life. She controlled her story from the moment she set foot in Hollywood right up to her very last breath. And in the end, this is really the core of who Evelyn Hugo was. She wasn't just ambitious or ruthless for fame's sake. Every single questionable, sometimes horrible thing she did it to protect the very, very few people she truly loved. And that's what we're left with, isn't it? After hearing the whole story, her ambition, her secrets, her great love, and her final, devastating confession, what do we make of her? Is she a hero, a villain, or something much, much more complicated? It's a tough one, and it just goes to show you that the truth is rarely ever simple.